Hello and welcome to a shiny new episode of WE&K, the weekly AEW news kick. I am your host, Tom. I am joined by WE&K producer. His hair is the colour of blood and he has a lot of guts to walk out of his door looking like that every day. It's Jack Griffin.
Well, thank you. That was very creative.
I thought of that on the fly. I didn't even, not like I usually just spend time just like scribbling like horrible remarks to say to my brother.
I'd love to, when you said producer, I was thinking I'd love like an intro where I'm like Kenny Omega, where you just list random shit that's happened in my life, just like 10 different stuff where it's like, for my
I'll do
entrance.
that with his music as well.
Yeah.
With that pre-music thing he plays.
It'd be like, he is the producer of the WE&K podcast. He is
a 2-1 from Birmingham City University.
Yeah, just list loads of stuff. That's a plan for next time. But yes, hello Tom. How are we on this lovely Wednesday evening? Later than planned, but not an issue because there's fuck all going on, is there?
Because who's got anything on in their lives right now?
Exactly.
It is so. You take the rough with the smooth. It is what it is. Other cliches. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Well, you just fucking asked me.
Yeah, I'm asking you again just for kindness.
We don't do well without Patrick for social lubricant.
Social lubricant.
It's a rough fuck, you and me. There's chafing.
Oh god,
that's so wrong.
Patrick, we're literally 1 minute 45 seconds in. We already need Patrick back. We can't do this without him.
Miss you and your German pornography tips.
Did you take any of his advice? Did you watch any German porn this week?
I mean, not beyond the clip he showed us, where it was the non-porn part of the porn.
Yeah, it was the storyline porn.
And it was just a German guy going alarm like a firefighter, because it was like a firefighter gangbang, and instead of an alarm ringing, he was just shouting alarm.
Alarm.
Like, could they not afford that? Like, they afforded all these firefighter suits. The fucking, they look like they rented out a station. They couldn't afford the bell.
Or even put it in post-production like I did in our audio. Just like find
Don't ruin the magic, Jack.
Sorry.
Oh, do you watch it? You watched any wrestling?
Crikey, have I watched...
I mean, we'll talk about that in less important shows if you watched any wrestling other than AEW. Obviously, I hope you've watched some wrestling. I hope you've watched AEW.
No, I've watched... Well, so obviously in less important shows we'll discuss, but I watched the main event of Wrestling Don Taku, Will Ospreay and Tagagi. We'll discuss that, obviously. I finally... and I did this when we last recorded, but I forgot to mention it. I've finally watched WrestleMania. Not all of it. Obviously, the matches I care about. Disappointing as always. I think
the main event wasn't too bad. The triple threat.
Yeah,
it was all right.
That was all right. And I also did like the Bianca Belair match, taking the title, but she took it off Sasha Banks, which makes me sad.
I didn't rate that as highly as other people did. Maybe because I'm not haven't been as invested in the rise of Bianca Belair, or maybe because it felt a bit obvious for me. But I did watch it as well because I knew there was a lot of hate about it because I watched it obviously after WrestleMania aired. But I still wanted to watch it because I was intrigued because I love both wrestlers. Randy Orton versus The Fiend. My God, it was just... Weird. Yeah. Like, the funny things, right? Obviously, we've had a year of wrestling without crowds. And they can hide, like, if it's bad, like, if it's a bad show or bad wrestling, they can hide behind that shit. But this was obviously WrestleMania with a big crowd. And the boos after it ended, I was like, my God, you cannot hide this shit. Like, it's the regression of The Fiend. Was, I think most people actually had a problem with the fact that they just sent him back to Randy Orton won it as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they just sent him back to regular Fiend after he was like this burn Fiend and he was like mega Fiend, and I don't know, it was they keep burying that dude. Like, I remember back when it was John Cena at WrestleMania, I think.
Yeah, in that Funkhouse match, wasn't it?
No, not that one. He won that one, but years before that, when he was just Bray Wyatt before he was the Fiend, and Cena went over him. And I remember the news coming out was that Vince, probably one of the only people that suffered because Vince overrated them. Vince thought Bray Wyatt was basically already the new Undertaker, and he could use it to put other people over. Okay, one, he wasn't there yet. He's still not there yet, and he could be if they built him right. Two, who the fuck
who needs to put over John Cena? He's John fucking Cena. John Cena doesn't need putting over. Do you know what I mean? It's
he's every kid's and I'm guilty of this. He's like every kid's first favorite wrestler. You know what I mean? Because
your first love.
Mate,
first crush.
I remember having that John Cena poster.
The nips, the massive nips on your wall.
Him and Rey Mysterio, my two, weren't they? And then I still love Rey Mysterio now, John Cena not so much. But yeah, Bray Wyatt, they've got an absolute golden wrestler there, and they just keep on wasting him, and it just infuriates me because I love that guy so much. I think he's so creative. I think he's so different, which is obviously what we
good
love.
On the mic.
Yeah, good, and yeah, it's just strange. But anyway,
I mean, yeah,
this is an important show convo, isn't it?
WWE related though. Let's launch some breaking news. Daniel Bryan's contract has expired. He is a free agent.
My God.
News coming out that WWE are very, very keen to re-sign him, but he hasn't as of yet. To be honest, I think if anyone can work out a deal where they occasionally appear for WWE, but also occasionally wrestle wherever else the fuck they want, it's Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. He's a big enough name that even, obviously, not re-signing with WWE, I don't think Vince would hold a grudge. We know Vince is an arsehole, and, but I don't think, because he's that star power, it's that pulling power, which, it's the same like you said when Jericho left for AEW. He still rung at Jericho and been like, can you come back kind of thing.
Yeah, because Vince doesn't realise the... Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Daniel Bryan's got that same, he can leave and wrestle with promotions and Vince will still be like, do you want to come back or whatever? Or Daniel will ask to come back for a bit and Vince will be like, yeah.
But he's talked about doing 8 months on, 4 months off or something. He talked about something else. He talked about just appearing as and when or doing 8 months on, 4 months off or something like that. And I think... I could see him working on some sort of Legends contract for WWE that also lets him wrestle elsewhere. I do think it's possible, even though we would never have thought it possible with anyone else. But now I think it might be. Top 3 matches in, say, AEW or New Japan that you'd like to see Daniel Bryan have.
Well, I think you've got to go. It's always going to be whoever.
You're always going to say Omega, aren't you?
It's always Kenny is literally because Kenny can put a good match with anyone. You know what I mean? And that, not that Daniel Bryan needs it, but that's why I say put anyone with Kenny Omega because it's just golden. So that'd be a cool one. I'd probably also go maybe Christian would be a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
because they've both been in WWE so long. It'd be nice to see them go at it with their creative freedom. Do you know what I mean?
So I think I want to see him wrestle a current champ. So that's going to be Kenny. I want to see him wrestle with ex-WWE, which is going to be Christian. And I want to see him wrestle a newbie, an up-and-coming star. And I'm going to go Jungle Boy. I think that'd be cool.
Jungle Life.
What about you?
That'd be cool. I like that as well. I would like to see him wrestle... I have to go with you and say Kenny Omega, obviously.
Why do you because he's been praising Omega? Say that? You love that guy.
I hate Kenny Omega. He is such a heel. He's such a prick. I'd like to see that. I would like to see him against... I quite like to see him against Miro outside of WWE. That's another one like Christian where I think they could realise their full potential if they're allowed to script their own match. And I've probably got to say Will Ospreay, surely. I would also like to see him against Zack Sabre Jr., but I think they have faced each other before, but I don't know whether it was at their kind of full... I mean, just so many people, but I think he'd put on a absolute screamer with Will Ospreay or Shingo Takagi or,
anyone.
Shingo Takagi, actually, I quite like that, actually. I quite like Daniel Bryan versus Shingo Takagi would be good.
I think right now he'd be better used in New Japan than AEW.
I'd love to see him in a G1, but I don't think his head to take a G1 climax. It's so demanding of a tournament. So I think I'd like to see Samoa. I think Samoa Joe might take on the G1.
That'd be sick.
That'd be sick. That'd be good. Right, should we talk about Dynamite?
Let's do it.
First up, first up, I'll say, did you realise most of it was pre-recorded? It was just the Blood and Guts match that was live.
Yeah, because you can tell when they obviously. Oh well, the immediate way
Like
I
QT
tell.
Marshall's ass.
Yeah, that was one thing. Actually, that's something we'll talk about later. But I've seen more asses in this episode of Dynamite than I've ever seen in any of AEW. And yeah, obviously you can tell when they don't show the crowd. So in the
Yeah.
up till
But
Blood and Guts,
they were showing the crowd. But okay, I'll tell you what they were doing. So they were actually showing the crowd. Yeah, like you say, not at the beginning of the show. They weren't panning to the crowd or anything like that.
Yeah.
But what? Okay, so what they did was because they had to take the time. There's no ceiling on Daly's place, so they can't lower a cage. So they had to assemble the cage, which took like hours or whatever. So what they did was they pre-recorded a load of matches without a crowd there, played them to the crowd, and used the live crowd noise.
Yeah.
From the crowd who are watching it. So this was all per Wrestling Observer Radio or Wrestling Observer newsletter. I don't know whether it's been on their radio show yet or not. Yeah, they used, so the crowd noise was authentic. That was the crowd watching it. It was advertised that this would be the case to the live. So basically, the live crowd only saw one match. That was the Blood and Guts match.
Yeah.
Whereas we saw it. It was advertised when they bought their tickets that this would be the case. However, Tony Khan, class act that he is, even though it was advertised to them, offered refunds to anyone who was disappointed that they only got one match, even though it was advertised as a one match show, and that they only got one live match and watched the others on the big screen. 5 people took him up on it, which is not bad out of 1,000, and so and that just shows the goodwill there.
But I think you've got to question them 5 people. Like if it's what are they anyway?
Well, they're just they're the kind of people I think that you're offered. If you pretend to be pissy, you get some free money. Do you know what I mean? You get your money back. So they probably were aware, and they probably did enjoy the show and weren't disappointed by the lack of matches and knew what they were getting. But someone says here's some free money. But I think it shows the goodwill among AEW fans that any of those people could say, yeah, I was disappointed, give me a refund, and they've seen the show for free. And yet only 5 people did out of 1,500 people, so just under or whatever. So
definitely,
that's pretty good. But yeah, starting the show long before the Blood and Guts match, that was the only live show they had. We had Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I will just run you through and then come to you for your opinions. That's how we shall do it today. Don Callis comes out listing Japanese legends. He mentions Inoki, Baba, Okada, Ibushi, and Michael Nakazawa. They're obviously, sarcastically overhyping Michael Nakazawa to make it seem like, Kenny's not as much of a coward as he is, because they only send out Nakazawa. Callis pretends that Kenny's not there, so it will have to be a 2-on-1. But obviously Kenny ambushes Mox and Eddie on their way in. Nakazawa and Kingston start. Kenny tags in and then out again, and as they're kind of doing the quick tags to double team Eddie. Jon Moxley saves Kingston from a double suplex and hits a tope to the outside. Nakazawa hits a low blow on Eddie to regain control, and Omega hits the Katara Crusher on Kingston. Kenny and Kingston get in a chop fight, and Kenny goes for the you can't escape, but Kingston does escape and avoids the moonsault part of that move. Kingston makes the hot tag to Mox, and Nakazawa is also in. Nak is bleeding from the mouth, takes off his shirt, tries to hulk himself up, and Mox kicks the shit out of him and hits a pile driver. Kenny exits the ring, starts to kind of show his cowardly side and run away, and then we get a clothesline dragon suplex combo from Mox and Kingston to end the match, get the pin on Nakazawa. The Elite, that being Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and the Good Brothers, all emerge. First the Young Bucks, followed by a surprise assault from the Good Brothers, and they beat down Kingston and Mox. The Good Brothers hit the Magic Killer on Mox. Matt hits Mox with his shoe before a super kick with his bare foot. And Nick Jackson super kicks Eddie Kingston. Kenny comes back out and hits the one-winged angel on, I believe, Mox, and then they sarcastically count the 3. Jack, thoughts on this match and the aftermath?
beautiful play-by-play, but he hit the one winged angel on Eddie Kingston. That's the only thing.
Did he really?
Yeah, because I distinctly recall all of them helping get Eddie Kingston on Kenny's shoulders, because obviously he's a big lad, isn't he? So they were all helping.
I think they would. I think he could have done it himself. I think they were taking the piss with that.
Yeah.
Being how they are, but yeah, that makes more sense, because I think we're building to the singles match between those two at some point, because we've already had the one with Mox. So
yeah, I don't think they'll not never do it again, but it's kind of been. I don't want to use that word overused, because that makes it sound like it's disappointing. But we've had a lot of Kenny Mox, and it's time for a different kind of wrestler in this feud. In terms of the match, yeah, I thought it was good. It wasn't anything too special. It was very much a let's make Kingston and Mox look good, whilst protecting Kenny kind of thing. Is this you don't deserve to wrestle me properly? Obviously, you used the word coward there. It's cowardly in a way, but it's also
Don defending him. He's a coward.
But Don words it as protecting him, doesn't he? Because he's got all the gold now. He's got a target on his back. Big up, Kenny, my G.
This is what's going to happen. We're going to get some biased commentary. You will be the Don Callis of this pod. You epitome human pond scum, or whatever they call Don Callis. That's you now.
But no, obviously from a viewer point of view, where you're not picking sides because of who your favourite wrestlers are, it was cowardly from Kenny throwing in Nak, not treating the match proper either, because Nakazawa, we don't want to disrespect him, but he's not as prestigious as some of the wrestlers in there. He's probably not on as big a contract, all this sort of stuff. So as they obviously allude to, he's one of the kind of what was the quote they used last week to describe him?
Bully Ray, Bully Ray or Bubba Ray Dudley. He has been pissy on Twitter. I think they've worked him a little bit, and he is upset with how, legitimately upset, thinking AEW disrespecting the Impact title by having Nakazawa wear it out and called him Naka Nobody.
Oh wow! But now obviously the match itself.
What you were looking for is he is a Naka Nobody, is what you were looking for.
But the match itself, like I said, it was a decent match. It was the right outcome. It made the right moves. I can't complain anything about it, because it was never going to be a 5-star, must-watch match. It was just merely a TV match. All right. It was a TV match, a way to progress the storyline, and I ended up satisfied. And the ending was very, elite heel ending. And one of my favourite images of that match was seeing Matt Jackson resting on the top of the ropes, kind of just relaxing there, which was
chilling out, maxing, relaxing, cool.
Which
slapping some Gucci's on some fool. There you go.
And I think if you just hold the thought for 1 second, obviously if you are a follower on Twitter of the Young Bucks or Matt or Nick, you would notice that they constantly now
change their
bios and change their profile pics, which I personally love. And they changed, or at least Matt changed his bio. So Young Bucks have now changed their profile picture to Matt super kicking Eddie Kingston in the face, which I love. They also, is it on here? There we go. They uploaded a GIF of Matt Jackson on the top ring rope, loving life, smiling away. And I just can't get enough of Hill Elite. I know people have their complaints.
Do they? Fuck them. That's brilliant.
It's just,
that's really bad. Like, we're doing a podcast, we got listeners in who probably have all different varieties of opinions, and it's like people who don't like Heel Elite, fuck them. It's I don't know. You're all entitled to your opinions, however.
I don't know if it's just these people I always seem to see on Squared Circle and AEW Reddit that just always like to shit on it. But there's a lot
of bad faith actors from Squared Circle Jerk who are just the most toxic of the toxic. They're basically just they're like how you get extreme political subreddits where they're just absolutely toxic. That's basically what Squared Circle is. It's just become Squared Circle Jerks, SC Jerk has just become a hub for hating AEW. And before that, people act like they're, they were hating on New Japan. They just hate anything that's not WWE, because how dare anything that's not WWE exist? You must be being pretentious if you watch anything other than WWE. Why don't you just fucking watch WWE?
It's sad that's all well, but no, Heel Elite is one of my favourite things to watch at any time they come on screen, whether it's just, promo or interview or backstage, like anything. I love it, and I'm loving Brandon Cutler as the personal cameraman.
Me too.
Because
I like that he's taken them with him. I like that they're still. I don't like that they've done. I wouldn't have liked if they tried to make him and or Nakazawa just like, I don't agree with what you're doing. No, fuck it. Take everybody with you. Do you know what I mean? I like it.
But for a selfish point of view, also the camera he uses is the one that he films BTE on. So we get behind the scenes footage of obviously the Heel Elite, unlike from the obviously a different camera on Dynamite from his. And I like that.
Next up, we had Cody versus QT Marshall. Jack, before I give you any bias, I want to actually get your opinion on this match before I say anything about it. What was your opinion on this match?
Okay, let me.
I'm seriously at this time.
I'll tell you what. Based on the match alone and nothing else, QT's gone up by meter.
Right, this match was this. I mean, I rated it a 7 out of 10 on Cage Match, and I said it's the best QT Marshall match I've ever seen.
I think this did him a lot of favours. He needed this. He did pull out some good moves. It looked a good match. It wasn't obviously a squash or whatever.
Has he gone 1 or 2 points up the QT meter?
You know what? I'll be generous because he's only on like 0. I'll bump him up 2. That's still obviously a low rating QT meter.
I know. What happens when he hits 10? Do we? I mean, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
I buy a QT Marshall shirt.
That's what happens.
and wear it on the pod. And I'll hold you to that if he ever gets 10. But first thing I want to mention is the first thing I put in our weekly AEW News Kick WhatsApp group is I saw a guy in the crowd, and I hope you noticed it too, saying I'm probably the only legit QT Marshall fan here or something. And I was just like, mate, respect, because if I was there, I'd be giving you 10 tons of shit about why. But no, from a match perspective, I was impressed. I'm hating Cody. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a Cody fan right now. But I think
sorry, go on, carry on.
No, I saw it again used on like AEW Reddit, but the word pretentious comes up. I know that's what he goes for right now, but
he's supposed to be the face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just this whole thing with the Nightmare Family nepotism and just the way he presents himself. And I don't know what's changed from. I do think the Nightmare Family has a lot to answer for, because before, they never really pushed the Nightmare Family. You only ever saw the Nightmare Family in big fights when they had DDP and maybe QT Marshall and obviously Brandy walk out with him. Do you know what I mean? They never made it, and Arn Anderson, they never made it like this big thing. But the Nightmare Family is just so kind of pervasive in the product now, with the Gun Club and the Gun Club and Lee Johnson, and it's
Big
too many cooks.
Lee.
too many cooks. Do you know what I mean? There's it's just weird how Cody's kind of heelish, and the whole thing where he's saying I'm not going to break your leg, I'm not going to, I won't follow through on the crossroads. It's that's heel shit. Do you know what I mean? That's basically what Kenny does when he's patronizing people. And you're supposed to be the face in this. And this is the weird thing. It's who the fuck do I root for here? Because Cody's the face, QT's the heel. Cody's kind of acting heel, and at some points QT seems like the reasonable one. It seems like the one we should root for. But also, it's QT Marshall. He's a fucking charisma vacuum, and I can't root for him. Do you know what I mean? So
but it's so weird, because obviously I used to love Cody, and 2020 Cody was one of my favourites. But he's just maybe not 2020,
2019.
2019 and maybe early 2020. And I think when he lost the TNT title to Darby, that's when he went downhill. But no, he's just he needs something to make me, because this and I think you'll agree is making maybe they're not perfect, but at least from when we first saw him, when QT Marshall first came out of the factory, and they obviously attacked Cody, and at first it was a cool bit of the show, but we were like, QT Marshall as a faction, it's that's so fucking done. But it's growing. It is growing, and I think it's consistent airtime.
I like their music. I like their music. You can't really hear it that well because of sound levels. But.
No, but consistent airtime, which always helps, because it's not a force it down your throat airtime. The way they do it, it allows them to kind of show themselves off a bit more than AEW showing them off. Do you know what I mean? With Jade Cargill, I guess it's a different kind of thing because it's constantly just her promo, and it's like forced. Whereas like this, it's kind of in match situations, which is a bit different. It lets them to have a bit more creativity, a bit more freedom, and to show off themselves a bit more. I know that sounds weird because promo.
No, I get it.
For that, but you know, I mean, the promos are obviously but basically, I feel like the factory have grown on me. It's not perfect. It definitely has its faults, but this match certainly helped it. And and I think, I mean, it's not really a big ending, so I'll talk about it now. But obviously, Anthony Ogogo coming out and finishing Cody off. I think that's where it's heading more. I think obviously, I know
this is what I said. So. I don't think a lot of people were actually expecting the Cody win here because a face win like this, clean, it kind of feels like the full stop to a rivalry. Yeah. I don't think it is the full stop to the whole rivalry with the factory with a Go-Go coming out and punching him afterwards. But I think they could phase out QT Marshall's role with like direct role with Cody, and they could have this be the end to their feud and make it short, cut it short.
Yeah,
it's not really a draw, this feud, and maybe then work into a Cody and a Go-Go feud, which, I mean, we can't really comment how good that will be because we haven't really seen a Go-Go beyond just like body shotting people, do you know what I mean? So
definitely, that's all my kind of take. And interesting to hear yours. I know the only thing that cringes me is just Anthony Go-Go and obviously how much he hates America, but that's
if he hates America so much, why is he so proud of being in Subway commercials, which is an American brand?
Literally.
I was in Subway commercials, I was.
Your take.
Well, let's have the play-by-play first. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right, we started off, and Cody tried to use the weight belt, was stopped by, was it Bryce or Knox? And then QT used his own in full view of the ref and wasn't disqualified. It was like, why are you even trying to stop Cody using his then if QT's going to use his? And like, they're really lax with the rules in. I mean, they are in New Japan as well. They're very lax with the rules in New Japan. I can't remember the last time I've seen a disqualification in New Japan. And I wish AEW, if they would just explain that and say that it's only really egregious offences that they're going to disqualify people for, and stuff like hitting with weight belts doesn't cover that, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? If they went out their way to explain it, but at the moment I do see people's criticism saying like, they're just doing stuff right in front of the referee's eyes and they're not giving a shit. Cody went for a really pretty roll up off the kind of turnbuckle. I've seen him do it before, but it's very nice. Then he started gouging the eyes of very heelish, but I guess because he's angry. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Gouging the eyes of QT, and he was doing someone else heelish, raking the back. That was it. He went up top. Marshall jumped up to meet him on the top ropes and slams him off. Followed up with a deadlift German, which was very nice. Deadlift German suplex. QT started hitting Cody outside of the ring. It went outside the ring and he was beating him up, and Arn Anderson got involved, hitting QT Marshall, his head into the ring post and got himself ejected. Rightly so. Just because you're a face doesn't mean you can get away with that kind of shenanigans. Although, like, they're enforcing that, but not the belt thing. But whatevs. Cody started hitting the old dusty punches for his dad before a really, really nice drop kick from Marshall, to be fair. Like, see, do you know what I mean? Credit where credit's due. This was a good match. Went back outside and Red Velvet got involved, holding QT Marshall still. And it's like, again, very heelish. Back in the ring, and Marshall drove... I'm just going to start saying QT because I can't keep pronouncing his name like that, but that's the official way to do it, isn't it? QT drives Cody's head into the turnbuckle, does a guillotine on Cody on the bottom rope. Cody battles to his feet and headbutts QT. They both go for the crossbody and go down like they clashed in the middle of the ring. This is when it was like really starting to say, oh, this is actually quite a good match. They began trading punches. QT runs at Cody, but Cody blocks it and pulls his trunks down and exposes his bare behind to the cold Jacksonville night air. I don't know, it's cold. It might be hot there now. Got no fucking idea. Cody drives Marshall. I've done it again. QT's head into the turnbuckle again. Oh no, it was the other way round because it was QT before. So Cody's driving QT's head into the turnbuckle and then hits a standing moonsault. It was a bit of a sloppy standing moonsault, to be honest with you. Cody misses the disaster kick, goes for the Cody cutter. QT steals the crossroads. He hits the crossroads on him. Stolen finisher, but Cody kicks out. QT then, I love this, used DDP's taunt, obviously a member of the Nightmare family, so he's going to the Nightmare family well a few times. This was some nice storytelling, and went for the Diamond Cutter, DDP's finisher. Cody reversed, but QT still managed to get a big buckle bomb on him. He went for the Tombstone pile driver, but they kept reversing each other, so they were both going for it. So it was him, then Cody, then him, then Cody. It was Cody who ended up getting it, dropping him on his head. It was a 2. Then Cody hit the crossroad, and QT Marshall kicks the fuck out. Who saw it coming? Cody assisted QT to his feet with a moment of mercy, but QT flipped him the bird, and Cody angrily put him in the figure 4 for the tap out and the victory. Cody was pissing blood out of his eye at this point. I don't know what happened. It was like it happened right at the end there, and I couldn't see what it was that did it. I don't know if you noticed. It was either from his eye or the side of his. I have to imagine it was from the side of his eye, because if that much from his eye, then I think he needs it fucking removed. But then Ogogo came out for his body shot that he does, and covered. Is such cheap heat. Covered him with the Union Jack. A little salute. For her match, for Phil, R.I.P. Big G. My thoughts on this match were I hate that I loved it. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was the second best match of the night. I thought it was the best traditional match of the night, and I fucking never thought I'd say that. Especially with 3-star match machine Cody and fucking QT Marshall of all people. Yeah, again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It wasn't a fucking Matt Classic or anything. Like I said, it's about a 7 out of 10. But like a 7 out of 10 with QT Marshall in the ring, Cody versus QT Marshall. I'm surprised. Do you know what I mean? It was decent. So it just kind of goes to show that anyone can really, well, as long as anyone's kind of a decent wrestler, you can get like a 7 out of 10 if you just give people the time. Do you know what I mean? If they've, but yeah, I big fan. Let's see where it goes with a go. Next up, we had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page being interviewed. Scorpio Sky mentioned about not being afraid of Sting anymore, and said, "Who's the franchise now, bitch?" Because they used to call Sting the franchise. Scorp is saying he is now the franchise. Ethan got on the mic and said the reason Darby wears face paint, a bit of a shoot this, is to cover up a dent that Page put in his head, which apparently you can see is apparently a true thing. Darby then obviously jumped him, hit the coffin drop from the lighting rig. That was low-key badass. I think people are overlooking that because of what happened next, which was Ethan Page throwing down a set of stairs. I think Darby was actually a little bit pissed that he couldn't get the whole stair set because he stopped like halfway through. And knowing Darby Allin, I think he was probably hoping he could get the whole thing, but obviously he rolled to a halt before he could get to the second portion of the set of stairs. What the fuck do we make of this, Jack? This was a hardcore. I mean, it was stone steps.
Yeah, that only Darby Allin could be pissed off that he didn't make it all the way down the stairs.
Definitely was. Halfway. You know he was.
Mate, honestly, that's got to be hurt. That's got to be painful. But I don't know what to think of this. I really don't, because don't get me wrong. Scorpio Sky, we've said it countless times, has been so overlooked, and I like the fact he says that in his promos. And Ethan Page, we literally said when he debuted at Revolution that Revolution, that we were scared that they'd underuse him, and they are using him. But I still don't feel satisfied by any of it, and I don't know why. I think it's because it's got to be headed towards some sort of Sting. Like, I think
Sting and Darby Allin versus these two.
Yeah, or Darby Allin and Lance Archer, which always seems to be coming out as well. If Sting doesn't want to wrestle the match or whatever he wants to, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I think we're going to see at one point. I think we're going to see a 6-person tag, and I don't think this is going to be on a pay-per-view. I think it's going to be on a Dynamite. I think we're going to see Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Miro versus Darby Allin, Lance Archer, and Sting in a 6-man tag. You reckon Miro's going to team up with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page?
I don't think he's going to. No. Don't get ahead of me. Don't misquote me. I don't want to be misquoted. I don't think he's going to team up with them at all. I think they're going to be in a match though on Dynamite. I think they're gonna. I think probably what's gonna happen. I think. I definitely think Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. I mean, they have to now, don't they? They're going to go into a program with Darby Allin and Sting.
Do you know
what I mean? That's going to be a tag thing that's going on. I think Miro's going to take. We'll talk about that later. I mean, we've been saying for weeks.
No spoilers. No spoilers to next week's
I know. It's not a spoiler because we've been saying this for fucking weeks that Miro's going to take the title soon from Darby Allin. Yeah, I think he probably will, and obviously there's some overlap there, and I think maybe also we could be staring down Archer versus Miro, although, you know. Anyway, I think there's enough overlap there that on one Dynamite they're probably going to do a 6-man tag.
Yeah, no, and
all these people.
I'd take that, but yeah, in terms of this at the moment, we'll see. I think it's because we've not seen Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page actually wrestling too much. It's just been them up in the rafters, and now they've attacked. So, but in that sense, I like that they're not really rushing it too much. So I honestly feel what it's like to be a wrestling fan now, because I don't think I'm ever satisfied. I want one thing, and then I'm like, oh, but why is it not being done this? And yeah, I feel like I'm officially in that mode.
To be fair, Yeet and Darby Allin down the stairs has increased my interest in this.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
No, that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was and I as they were heading towards the stairs, I was like, are they going to come down the stairs? And it looked like that scene. Looked like that scene in Coronation Street where David pushed Gail down the stairs. And I was just. I mean,
Americans, particularly our 25% New Jersey contingent. If you haven't seen Coronation Street, David pushing, you are missing out on. I mean, to be fair,
YouTube it.
Get David pushes Gail. That's all you need to put into YouTube. It'll do the rest. It'll know what you're talking about. It's been remixed. She had it coming, I assume.
David, just that rebellious teen. Only on WANK can we be talking about wrestling and then go on to Coronation Street.
When you just got to push your mum down the stairs. No, it's big in Canada, Corey. You know how like Neighbours and Home and Away here, like how we just randomly watch these Australian soaps. That's how it is in Canada. They just randomly watch Corey. Right.
I really hope that any of our Canadian audience, of which we do have some,
balling.
We are also Coronation Street fans, and we've got a crossover there, and there's that one listener in Canada right now. It's like, oh my god, I know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
that'd be class.
She did have it coming, that chinless bitch. If you know, you know. She looks like a bloody turtle. Anyway, next up, we had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, thank you, Jack, versus Julia Hart. I assume no relation to Brett and Owen and the like. Very little to talk about here. Sling blade from Britt is what I've got down, and then a lockjaw attempt was evaded. Britt hit the air raid crash. She could have had a pin for the 3, but decided not to. She wanted to go for sadism and got the glove on and the lockjaw locked in for the tap out. Cut and dry squash match, but the big story is that Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, is got the title match at Double or Nothing versus Hikaru Shida. Jack's excited. Why don't you have your release?
I'm getting emotional. I've wanted this since I think I first saw Britt Baker in AEW. Maybe not that early, because I know when she was
No, I can confirm it was that early. We watched, I remember it was it All In, the Fatal 4-Way match with Chelsea Green and 2 other women. It's really bad that I can't remember who they were. But I think one of them was oh, never mind. Was one of them Rachel? No, it wasn't Rachel Ellering, was it? I don't fucking know. I've forgotten. Anyway, Chelsea Green was in it, and that's all you need to know. And you said, tell you what, I'm rooting for this doctor. You were like, I'm rooting for the doctor one, you know. And that, so I can confirm it was I've been a fan. I mean, it before even, because if that was All In, it was either All In or Double or Nothing. But if it was All In, it was one of them. Anyway, I think it was All In, because Chelsea Green was there.
I was all in for Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, honestly.
And that was before it was actually AEW, so...
This is like one of the moments when you follow a band from the start and then you finally get to see them, like, I don't know, headline the Radio 1 tent at Reading or play, you know. It just feels like a big deal, and it's like, I am more than happy to put £100 on at the bookies for Britt Baker to win because I'm that confident. This is her time. And if she doesn't win it, I am just going to be fuming because this would be, at Double or Nothing, this will be Shida's 1 year she's had the title. That's enough for the women's champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's enough, especially for, she's done great. Don't get me wrong, love Shida. You know, she's the COVID champ. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say that.
And, you know, but this Britt Baker from the start has been the one consistent through this promotion. Everyone's rose and fell.
She has only risen.
Yeah, she is the only one to have always been in that kind of title picture, and she's had satisfying other things to preoccupy her. She had obviously when she injured herself, and she was the queen of the promos. She then came back and had a killer feud with Big Swole, which I'm kind of disappointed it didn't go further. But we had that dentist match, which was cool. In her dentist practice, we've had this Thunder Rosa feud, which was the best thing to ever come out of AEW.
We have to remind people that Thunder Rosa won that match. Weekly reminder that Thunder Rosa won that match and is nowhere near the title picture.
I know.
So people think someone's going to go down with that, man. That's but that's the thing. Is it too soon for them to do that? Them two again? Like,
yeah, that's why I think it'd be. You mentioned obviously like a three-way would be cool, but
three-ways are always cool, Jack.
But no, this just feels like a celebratory moment, and I will be rooting for Dr. Britt Baker all the way, and it's not even because I dislike Hikaru Shida, and you know it's just I'm fed up with her as champ now, and I need something fresh and new, and this
it's fresh, it's stale. That's it. That's what it is. It's just stale.
Yeah, but I'd be all for Shida being champ again to have a second reign because I do think she's a good wrestler. We've just had her at the wrong time. Where crowds haven't been there, where they've been towards it, but you know she's the COVID champ, and it'd be nice to obviously have a refresh, have someone new, and someone that, like I mentioned in previous pod, have someone that kind of comes in and like your MJFs and like your Kennys at the moment, you hate the champ, but you love to hate him, and that's what Britt Baker is. And yeah, Britt Baker for women's champ. Let's fucking go.
Do you know what I would have liked from Shida is about 20% more edge. So she's got the kendo stick, but like it always ends up getting used on her or on one of her teammates. I'd like her to just come down, just fuck people up with a kendo stick every so often. Do you know what I mean? Put a hood on her ring attire. Like hoods always mean business. Do you know what I mean? If you got a hood on coming through the crowd, it's like, oh shit, should they mean business? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I would have liked to see from her, and maybe that can be the case after she loses. They can say, "Oh, Shida's pissed now." Do you know what I mean? She just, I wouldn't even say give her a heel run. I'd say give her a tweener run where she just like make her the Lance Archer of the women's division, where she just comes out and kicks someone in the fucking head every so often. Do you know what I mean? And then you're like, "Oh, Shida has snapped." Do you know what I mean? I'd like that. Next up, we had a little. What to make of this? It was funny, actually. We had a little video package of Taz analysing Christian Cage's finishers. This was so unnecessary in a great way. Do you know what I mean? It was I hate you so much that I'm going to break down your finishers and why you're shit at them. Like
that was it. What I loved about it is because everyone obviously knows Taz's technique when he used to do it, but at the early stages of COVID, for actually like complimenting a wrestler, and this one was just completely opposite. It was just criticising like Christian Cage's moves, and it was great.
He pointed out how he being Christian Cage was unable to get the explosiveness needed to pin with the frog splash because he wasn't extending his tendons or whatever enough. And he mentioned how the kill switch was ineffective against his boys, his like powerhouse. But he did hit a picture perfect one at some point. But it was basically breaking down why Christian Cage had ineffective finishes and they weren't good against him, and it's not going to work against this person and that person. I think he said Brian Cage. So yeah, not much to say about this that you haven't already, but it's funny stuff. If they can do more stuff like this, if Taz can showcase his humor a bit more, I'd be more inclined to be on board with Team Taz, because Team Taz has felt very stale for me, but this was fun. Next up, we had the Varsity Blondes versus Jurassic Express versus SCU versus The Acclaimed. I didn't remember all of the Acclaim's rap. I do know that they said they were going to retire Christopher Daniels. They were going to put. Oh, they mentioned that the Varsity Blondes would be on Dark Side of the Ring. That they were going to retire Daniels. That because obviously if SCU lost this match, they would retire. And they're going to turn Luchasaurus into a fossil and then challenge the Young Cucks. I don't know why no one's made that joke before. They probably have, but not on AEW. I'll just give us a quick run through, and by quick as I can, with a match of this. How many people there were in it and what was going on. Jungle Boy and Kazarian locked up. They traded pin attempts. Caster tagged himself in off Jungle Boy. And then it broke down fairly early. I was a little bit critical of that, of it losing control this early. The refs really didn't look good this week. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison take out Jurassic Express with kicks and double team Caster for a pin, which is broken up by Kazarian. SCU send Brian Pillman Jr. out of the ring. Flipping neckbreaker from Kazarian. It was a flipping good neckbreaker. Bowens tagged himself in and beats down Daniels. Caster in. Double team chop block and low drop kick to Christopher Daniels, I assume. And then get him in a headlock. Caster hit the back suplex on Daniels, and Bowens comes back in for a near fall. Daniels battles out of this kind of this beatdown from the Acclaimed, and Luchasaurus gets the blind tag on him and starts beating down the Acclaimed, hits German suplexes. The Varsity Blondes are in on him, but the big man, or the big dinosaur, should I say, fights them off also. Kazarian gets in and eats a choke slam to the outside onto the Varsity Blondes from Luchasaurus. He being Luchasaurus, tags in Jungle Boy for Death Valley Driver. So he hits the Death Valley Driver on one of the Acclaimed. Can't remember who, apologies. And Jungle Boy hit like a reverse Death Valley Driver of one of the Acclaimed onto the other one. It was a nice little spot. Luchasaurus gets dumped to the floor by Kazarian. Brian Pillman Jr. takes down Jungle Boy for a 2 count, but then Jungle Boy gets back up, clotheslines him. Daniels hits the flatliner on the outside to Luchasaurus. I think that pretty much neutralizes him for the rest of the match. Kazarian takes down Pillman Jr. with a clothesline and then delivers one to Jungle Boy. Pillman Jr. rolls up Kazarian, but Kazarian gets the kick out, and Brian Pillman Jr. goes for a move off the ropes, but Kazarian catches him in the tombstone position, and Daniels goes up for the BME, the best moonsault ever, but it's a best Meltzer ever, what they used to do with the Young Bucks, which was a nice little way to finish it, for the best Meltzer ever for the finish, and to make them the number one contenders for the Young Bucks titles. I mean, we knew it was coming. They weren't going to get retired in this match. This was the, funnily enough, despite being a 4-way match, was the easiest call of the night, I think. What did you think of this match, Jack?
I'm gonna. What was the first match again? Kenny Omega and
It's similar, isn't it?
Yeah, it didn't do too much to me because you knew the result and you knew where it's going, and I did come away with it thinking obviously Christopher Daniels and Frank Kazarian looked the best team in it, which is obviously the best to do when the team wins. I was happy with it. I'm sad though because next week is the end of SCU. I think we can say. Wouldn't it be mad if SCU won the title again? I'd love that.
I would have loved. This was what I said should happen. I said they should draw it out longer than they have, to be honest, and then have SCU win the title, and then they could go into the Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page thing. And I think it should have been Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page who retired them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it'll be interesting.
But the Young Bucks are their friends, so
yeah. But they still might win next week. You never know. but no disrespect. They Christopher Daniels is a legend. He is one of the older wrestlers in the company.
It seems to be a foregone conclusion with everybody that this breakup means retirement for Daniels and some singles action for Kazarian, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing because Frankie Kazarian, and I have liked him since watching him at AEW, but definitely in more recent weeks, I have thought you are good. You know what I mean? You are a good wrestler.
Still goes.
Yeah, and I think because Jesus.
Do you think it?
Right.
He did. Fucking Patrick did that to me last week. So that's 2 for 2. It's your turn next. You've got to get one of us next time you're on.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be good because Christopher Daniels, like I said, is old, so he deserves to retire, and this is a way to do it against your friends. And I know from reading the Bucks book, obviously, how much of a inspiration.
Have you read it all?
Not all of it. I'm about, would I say halfway? Maybe just under halfway. But I've been reading it anyway. And but yeah, how much of an influence Christopher Daniels had on the Bucks growing up, obviously in California, wrestling over there, and he was one of the ones that he looked up to. So kind of it'd be in a way a sort of passing the torch. I know obviously it's a bit different because Bucks are the heel at the moment, so it's not going to be as much of a respectful match. It still might be, you never know. But this feels like obviously it's not going to be storyline wise, but for those that actually know the Bucks story and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian story, it's very much, to me personally, see it as a bit like a passing the torch. Like we would, we're the SoCal representatives, and now the Bucks are going to be the ones flying the flag from. And I think it's nice, and as sad as it's going to be next week, it's also I think it's the right time. So yeah, because it's either go out this way or for the next year, maybe, not have the guaranteed screen time that maybe you deserve, you know what I mean, because others coming up. So I think this is the best thing that can happen for them.
Agreed. Next up, we had a promo for the IWGP US title match that we have next week. God, it's stacked next week. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we see a montage showing Mox's defenses of the US title. Yuji Nagata, he's against, by the way. Nagata allegedly called Mox a little punk, and Mox is really pissed off. I would say this is a little bit of an overreaction from Mox. So let's just compare the two and see if this is a proportionate response from Mox. Yuji Nagata. Someone actually pointed out to me, said, imagine it was just a mistranslation from Japanese and now Mox is about to murder him because of this. So but let's assume he did. Yuji Nagata called him a little punk. Mox says Nagata is going to learn that his mouth can get him into trouble. He's going to punch a hole through his chest and squeeze his neck, and that he'll put him down so he never gets up again. People are wondering when's the time that Yuji Nagata won't get up. Like, fucking hell, Mox. He called you a little punk, and you're like, I will fucking murder him. I will put a hole in his chest and squeeze his neck. Are you okay? Do you need a hug?
It doesn't feel like a thing. Like if I called you a little punk, would you try and murder?
Whoa, Mox, turn it down a notch. Yeah,
honestly.
I'm excited for this, but yeah, I just couldn't help but find this promo hilarious just because it seemed like such an overreaction from Mox. It's like, fucking hell, man, chill out. Yeah, exciting times.
It is, yeah, we'll discuss it a bit more next week's card, I reckon, but definitely worth mentioning, definitely hyped for it.
Next up, we had Tony Schiavone interviewing the champ, Kenny Omega. Kenny sarcastically hyped the main event. Are you all excited for Blood and Gut? Blood and Gut! I think he's doing a bit of a Vince, really, because obviously people might be forgetting, but Vince actually coined the phrase Blood and Guts. It was in a conference call, a shareholder conference call. Someone asked him about, is he worried about AEW or whatever? He said, well, I don't think they'll like the Blood and Guts stuff on TNT. The Blood and Guts stuff they do over there. And Cody was like, we're proud to do Blood and Guts. And so they named a match after it. It seemed like Kenny was kind of doing a bit of that. He said, well, that makes one of us, when the crowd said they were excited for it. So Kenny wasn't excited about Blood and Guts. Again, obviously, it's more than one. If the whole crowd are excited, it's 1,000 and something. But whatever, Kenny. He said, I've been collecting Goeld. He's such a prick. Like the way he says everything. I've been collecting Goeld. Yeah, mention how he doesn't even want to be there, so Tony should just get on with it. Tony announces Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the number one contenders match. Is that happening next week yet? Kenny then hypes up Pac, saying, he's beaten me once. This is what people want to see. People come to AEW for the best. Pac, he's, talking about how good Pac is. And then OC comes out, and Kenny processes what Tony Schiavone said. His brain catches up that Orange Cassidy is a potential opponent for Double or Nothing, and then starts laughing hysterically. And Can't believe it. You know, it's an affront having Orange Cassidy as a potential challenger for his title. Kenny says that OC is a feel-good wrestler. He says this was the low-key burn of the night, saying people want to be like Orange Cassidy because they can, because it's easy, but they can't be like Kenny. That's why people like Orange Cassidy and not him, because they can't be like Kenny. They're not good enough to be like Kenny. They'd have to try, but they can be lazy and be like Orange Cassidy. He says the only thing championship material about Cassidy is his shades that he's ripped off from Kenny. OC won't take the title, but has taken up his valuable time. At this point, he steals Orange Cassidy's aviator glasses, puts them on Nakazawa, and Kenny says he'll see him in about 10 years when he becomes a fully grown adult. In the meantime, he'll see you wherever, and we'll talk about whatever. And obviously, did Orange Cassidy stick? Left Orange Cassidy stood there, sans sunglasses. Yeah, I assume you to borrow a phrase from Don Callis, you Kenny Omega jock sniffer, Jack, you are going to rush to his defense here of the twat in chief.
No, I've got to say, this was one of my, and especially when the whole night was based around Blood and Guts, this is one of my highlights of the night. I fucking love this, and it got like, I think right at the end I got goosebumps because I was just like, the thought of having Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega main event
for the world title, yeah,
was just absolutely. I was like, and the thing is, right? I think
that's the main event over PAC. To be honest,
I think it is.
You think about how the full crowd. It's going to be. By the way, this is just interjecting now. It's news has come out in the last however long. Today or yesterday, whatever, it will be full capacity at Double or Nothing.
I just think, especially with the crowd's reaction at the Blood and Guts crowd's reaction to that, obviously OC coming out, and they obviously were chanting freshly squeezed and all this. Yeah. I just think they've got to do it because PAC's going to have plenty of chances at getting Kenny. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think this is where you got to be clever with your booking. And I think, to be fair, I don't know whether they probably did know who's.
It's got to be OC anyway, because why have this segment otherwise? Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean, and I think as well that maybe it could have been. Obviously, everyone knows OC's a fan favourite, and everyone knows whoever. Actually, that's the point. Whoever's main eventing with Kenny, Double or Nothing, everyone already knows they're not going to win. No one's going into that Double or Nothing main event thinking they're going to take the gold off Kenny because they know it's too soon. So why give it to PAC as someone who deserves to be a world champ? I know OC does, but
hot take.
OC's more of a TNT champ as it stands. So why not just do it for the shits and giggles?
And he's also a massive fucking draw. Like, you could put him in the main. You know, do you know what I mean?
People would watch that because Kenny Omega is, as they mention it, the greatest wrestler at this current time, and OC.
Lovespray has entered the chat,
and OC is the greatest kind of gimmick kind of wrestler. Gimmick, is that the word I want to use, Tom? You know what I mean? Yeah, gimmick wrestler at this current. So why not put him? It's gonna sell, and people, like I said, people aren't dumb. People are going to go into this knowing Kenny's going to win, but they don't want to see that. They want to see the build up because there will be killer build up to this. You can already tell with obviously.
Also, even though, like we always say this, they can't win. And it's so funny that we are so aware of these facts. We are aware that Rich Swann won't beat Kenny Omega. We're aware that this person might be this, but their job is to convince us in that moment that it might happen. Do you know what I mean? And they do. And this is the thing. We could predict 100 times and be right 100 times, and yet still with decent storytelling in the match, it's their job in matches like this to insert the little bit of doubt, and they did that in the Rebellion match. They did that. I had a moment of doubt. I was like, could he?
Definitely.
What? And then afterwards you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Of course Rich Swann wasn't going to beat Kenny Omega, but that's the job. Do you know what I mean?
I think Kenny does that really well in his matches. He brings out, and that's why I said earlier, he brings out the other wrestler really well, and he does make you think the other wrestlers. So obviously we can't confirm till next week who it is going to be at Double or Nothing, but as much as I love both, because OC and PAC have been some of my favourites in AEW, and I just think if you're going to have PAC versus Kenny, have it when, Kenny's, I was about to say more established. It's not that he's not established, but like maybe with another gold round his waist and maybe a little bit more time as champ. So it's a bit more doubtful that he'll drop it. At this current stage, I just don't think it's worth pulling the trigger on that, especially where Pac has a more realistic chance of winning the title than OC. That's just my opinion.
What's left for Kenny to win, though? Don't you say IWGP? I don't think that's happening.
Well, let's go. Trying to think what would be fuck it, ROH,
Ring of Honor,
yeah, or NWA. But I already know.
Then the NWA aren't gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Aldis is on like an 1,000-day reign nearly or something.
That's
it's
what I mean.
Ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure I watched some sort of YouTube video where they were saying about who was it? Who it was like who AEW are going to sign or feature anyway, and they said about who they almost signed. I think it was Nick Aldis was one of them, and yeah, I think. But
thing is, there's two types of people, I'd say, who hate Kenny Omega. One of them are WWE fanboys who hate anyone who has the audacity to be famous out and to get famous outside of the WWE system. The other are Jim Cornette marks, and Jim Cornette marks. The probably the highest concentration of them will be NWA fans. So I don't see it going well if Kenny Omega won the NWA title, because they got thing is, the NWA it's serious wrestling at the same time pretending it's still the 80s with their presentation, like with their their power presentation. So it's people who, we don't have time for this flippy shit. It's all about, it's like FTR's old gimmick, no flips, just fists. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of mantra of NWA. They like their serious wrestling, southern wrestling. They don't like any of this flippy shit. So if Kenny Omega, who has wrestled a 7-year-old girl and a sex doll, was to who they say is, they're the people that shout killing the business. Do you know what I mean? If he took the NWA title and ended around 1,000-day reign, they would just be furious. So yeah, I can't see it in a million years being the end. I think it's more likely for him to win the IWGP title from Ospreay or whoever. Well, that's a bit of a spoiler for later on. Than it is for him to win the NWA. I think that's the least likely. Other than maybe a WWE title, that's probably the least likely. Next up, we had an interview with Miro, which was our last bit before the main event. He presents his contract to a huge pop, because I think it's what everyone was waiting for, his contract for a Darby Allin match. The thing I love about this is that at no point has this really been mentioned. I mean, he mentioned that he was calling out all the champions, but at no point have they really stressed any program with him and Darby Allin. No point have they ever shown any reaction. And yet everyone was talking about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, they knew. So he presented this contract for a match with Darby Allin, says Darby can throw himself down all the stairs he wants. There's no escaping him. So like he's trying to get out of it. Says he doesn't want a forfeit from Darby Allin because he doesn't need handouts. And he said, we're going to find out what happens when the man who doesn't mind dying comes up against the man who doesn't mind killing him, which was just a badass fucking line.
Yeah, I thought that was class.
I can't believe this is on the card for next week with everything else we got as well. It's fucking insane, man.
Honestly, and this is one where I go straight in and say Miro's taking it.
Yeah,
because you can't bury Miro like that. I know Darby survived fucking Matt Hardy's spots which should have killed him. I know Darby survived Jungle Boy, who I was convinced at the time was going to take it. But this has surely got to be a step too far. Surely, because
he can't. He's gonna. Especially, he's been weakened by being thrown down the stairs now as well.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And that's some protection for him, that he can then go into a program with Scorp and Ethan and say, "You cost me this title because you chucked me down some fucking stone stairs a week before I had my title match."
Exactly. But wouldn't it be so AEW right now to still put over Darby over Miro and then bury Miro for a little? Mate.
No, they like keeping their former WWE guys happy, to be honest. They put the titles on FTR, which, to be honest, that FTR title reign was a bit uninspiring.
Yeah, definitely.
Jericho, Mox, they get their belts, and I reckon the only reason Pac hasn't yet is because there's just not enough titles, and they've got too many former WWE guys to put over. Do you know
and
what
they don't want to put Pac on a TNT when he deserves more.
Brody Lee title,
as well, yeah, that's true.
reward jumping ship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But
I think it's fair game. But yeah, Miro, if he takes it off Darby, then I'll be very intrigued to see who he gets at Double Nothing, or who. Or to be fair, knowing AEW,
Lance Archer.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one. But then also you can tell we're going to do like a Double Nothing, like they always do. They always do like a qualifier match, don't they? And that would probably be for the TNT.
To be honest, I think it would be a bit soon to pull the trigger on Lance Archer, but I mean that would be such a fucking war. I'd love that. That would book itself, to be honest. But
who would be a realistic like first one for Miro? Would you reckon?
If it wasn't Lance Archer,
and it wasn't it. Yeah, no. Let's go for a Double Nothing one. So it's got to be a pay-per-view draw.
How would I book it?
I would say maybe bring one of the Impact guys over.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to
use that cross promotion.
This is the thing; they're going to get squashed to shit. Do you know what I mean? But you got to put someone that isn't too big. Do you know what I mean? You can't. This is what I mean. They might end up going for Lance Archer this early at Double or Nothing, but I'm not sure if they should because Miro's got to win it. Do you know what I mean? And it will squash Lance Archer a bit.
Yeah.
And it's the same rule with if they brought over someone like Moose from. And I mean, to be honest, Moose should be in the world title picture anyway. So they have to be someone that's smaller. I could see Rey Fenix being a good one.
Yeah, that'd be sick. To be fair, I'd see that. I just think with Miro, if anything, they might have overpowered him for the TNT Challenge title. You know what I mean? Where
because who'd you put him against?
Exactly. But that's the beauty of what we do. We get to review this shit and we get to make these predictions, which is cool. And Rey Fenix, I'd say, is a good one. Maybe even Penta as well. I think
Penta should be in a world title picture. To be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of AEW. They do have world class stars that can cross over for any of the titles, and that's what makes the TNT a lot more valuable than it could have been because of the prestige and sort of like the measure of the stars that are like Miro's a world champ, but he's going for the TNT champ, and that puts respect on the belt.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of promos where they make it's the second tier title, but through good booking, it makes it so that it feels as big or just almost as big. And to give you some examples, so DDT, their main one is the KOD Openweight Championship, and it's currently held by Jun Akiyama. He's kind of a legend, so it's like that. He doesn't defend it as much. Yuki Ueno, who holds the what is it called, the Universal title? Yeah, he's been defending it all the fucking time, like every pay-per-view, every other pay-per-view. So it's like that now feels, because of him defending it, that now feels like it as good as the top title. Do you know what I mean? Stardom, for a long time, it's been the red and white belt. The red belt's officially the top one, but the white belt's felt almost as important as it for a long time. New Japan Pro Wrestling, their Intercontinental title, which obviously they've just unified with the world title, that at one point, because this was back when Naito, if you can believe this, there was a time when this was the case, Naito was so hated by the fans, like go away heat, not like heel heat. He wasn't over at all, to the point, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive it was Naito. Yeah. And he was booked in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom for the world title, but there was such strong backlash to it that they had to do a poll to see what the main event of Wrestle Kingdom would be, and fans voted for it to be the Intercontinental Championship match, which I think it was between Shinsuke Nakamura and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. I can't remember. But anyway, they voted for the Intercontinental title to main event Wrestle Kingdom. So yeah, someone like Miro holding the TNT title can only elevate it. And I'd love to see that. I'd love to see people who could be going for the world title going for the TNT title to the point where it feels like almost, it's never going to feel as big as the AEW Championship, but like almost like a 9.5 out of 10 to the AEW Championship's 10. Next up, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle in the Blood and Guts match. We have a lot to cover here, so I think we're going to go through it until the bells, the pre-match stuff. Technically, the pre-match stuff, or that's it's part of the match. But we'll review the pre-match first, then the match, then post-match. I'll tag my partner Jack in. Oh, that sounded gay. and incestuous.
For the hot tag.
My partner. I'll tag you in at regular intervals. First off, it was Santana and Ortiz came out looking like the Gorillas of Destiny, just FYI. Well, back when they used to do face paint. The starting ones, anyway, was Sammy and Dax Harwood. Sammy Guevara launches himself into Dax over the ropes. Some great back and forth that ends with a backflip to a drop kick from Sammy. He backflips over Dax as he's running, hits with a drop kick. Dax hits a massive spinebuster, though, to take the wind out of Sammy's sails. Goes for a pin on instinct, but there's no pins in this match. Harwood chops Sammy in the corner, and Sammy fights out and slams Dax's head into the turnbuckle, taking out the turnbuckle camera, in fact. The two end up on the ropes trying to ram each other's head into the cage. Dax drops onto the rope and tweaks his knee. Sammy throws Dax into the cage back and forth, one side then the other. This is when Dax gets busted open, and boy is he a bleeder. Sammy hits a great cutter, I must say, off the ropes, and at this point we have our first kind of regulation entrant who didn't start out, and that is Sean Spears enters with a chair. Sammy stops the chair shot, but ends up eating a sit-out powerbomb, and Spears places the chair between the ropes. Guevara battles out against the two-man disadvantage, but ends up eating the chair from Spears also. At this point, Ortiz storms into the match and throws a chair at somebody. I mean, I think I did well just keeping up as well as I did, to be honest with you. He drives a chair into the throat of, I believe, Spears. Anyway, and throws it back at Dax's head. And then chokes Dax on the ropes, and we see a really kind of visceral image of Dax's bloody face getting his neck stomped on. Spears and Guevara eye each other down from opposite rings and then jump up onto the ropes. So they're kind of balancing on the top of each of their respective ropes. Sammy hits a Spanish fly off the ropes. Crowd goes wild. I'm salivating so much because of how much I've got to read. I can do this. Sammy goes for the kind of springboard attack, but fails. Cash comes in to make it a 3v2. We get an assisted brainbuster from FTR on Sammy, I believe. Sammy gets thrown into the cage by Spears, and Cash is at this point grinding Ortiz's face into the chain link and hits a gory special on him into the cage. Santana comes in hot and taking on both of FTR. At this point, Ortiz introduces the barbed wire into the match, grinding it into Dax's head, and the War Dog comes in. He takes on Santana, Ortiz, and Guevara in a 3v1, and we get a lot of battle in there. And it's not. I don't know how they did the timing with this, because sometimes the time increments didn't seem, to match up with what it should be. But anyway, then we get Big Hurt, Jake Hager, in, and he is just smashing everybody. They're saying this is how Wardlow should have come in, 1 by 1 rather than 3 on 1. Hits a Hager bomb on Cash. Spears taps to the ankle lock from Hager, but the bell hasn't rung yet, so his submission does not count. And we get the face-off we've all been waiting for when Wardlow and Hager meet. I still maintain this would have been better if they had kept up the staring at each other thing all this time and hadn't met beforehand. And we get this kind of big hoss fight between the two. MJF enters to asshole chants. Wardlow takes out Hager's knee, I believe, with a chop block, while MJF, he's facing off with Hager. He's distracted, so Wardlow takes him out. And at this point, the Pinnacle are dominating, and they all gang up on Santana in one ring. Jericho enters into the other ring, so they mercifully, perhaps a bit uncharacteristically, throw Santana back to his boys, and we get a 5v5 standoff and a charge as the bell rings. Jack, woo! What about this stuff so far? Give us a rundown on this action. Give me a break, yeah,
mate. Honestly, so I just want to put it out there. Never seen a blood and guts match before. Again, another stipulation.
War Games. That's how William Regal says it.
So I was aware of the stipulation. I knew what was involved, but I'd never seen it personally. I was very hyped for the Elite Inner Circle one last year. Obviously, that got cancelled. And I don't know whether you'd agree with me, but I'm intrigued to see. I think this was more fitting of a Blood and Guts and Elite versus Inner Circle. I think there's...
Well, I think with the history behind the match as well, and the Pinnacle, how they're supposed to be like this throwback faction, do you know what I mean? That's quite fitting.
And I think because Inner Circle were heel, so let's just, for this match, for the sake of it, is sort of like a heel versus heel. I know Inner Circle now face, but they're badass guys, whereas Elite are more, obviously, at the time, were face. Obviously, they're heel now, so it could work a bit more now. But obviously, at the time, I think this was the better choice. So I'm glad they went for it now. The pairings, the one-off, I was surprised that Dax went before Sean Spears, because the fact that after Dax was then Sean Spears, and then it was followed up by one of the members of the tag team, followed up by the second member of that tag team. Like we said
before, they've all got their counterpart, haven't they?
So I found it weird, but the commentary mentioned that Tully just said for Dax to go first because he's got the more stamina. He can last the longest. That makes sense. And obviously, we knew Sammy wanted to go for it. And I don't know about you, but I was very impressed with all of them. I thought for this match, I thought it suited some better than others, but overall, from what I'm watching, I thought everyone played their part. There's sometimes in these sort of matches where, someone gets lost. I think they did a good job up until where we're talking to now, of including everyone. I thought, in a way, and again, up till where we are, I do think the Inner Circle overpowered the Pinnacle from my point of view. I think the Inner Circle...
Disagree. I have the facts down here. Inner Circle overpowered them in the second bit. At this point, the Pinnacle were definitely on top until, obviously, the bell rang.
Yeah, well, that's you got the facts, yeah, so there you go. I can't argue that. But
Can't argue. Lawyered.
That's it. But no, it was... Well, what can I say? Like I said, had goosebumps. This was awesome. Everyone on this podcast surely knows now, I love my stipulation matches. If it's a stipulation, guaranteed to love it, and this did not disappoint.
So we said there was the standoff and the charge as the bell went, and at this point Chris Jericho goes nuts with a baseball bat, hitting everybody. Spears goes to climb up the side of the cage for some reason. There's no lid on it. Jericho follows him up and chokes him in the bars, the wider bits, not the chain link. Bit brutal. Looked like he was about to get that could have killed him if he'd slipped. Do you know what I mean? But he ends up down and attacks. Oh no, he doesn't attack Wardlow. It must have been Jericho attacked Wardlow with the chair. Of course.
So much going on.
I was doing so well. FTR then exposed the boards underneath the canvas, underneath the mat, and Jack, as you pointed out, Sean Spears unlocked the turnbuckle. Ortiz, though, I think on Spears, on two people actually, snuck up with a Madball attack. He had the Madball out, the pool balls in a sock or whatever. So the tide turned then. This was about when the tide turned to the Inner Circle, and they being Santana and Ortiz, got FTR up for pile drivers with a spike from Sammy onto the boards that FTR exposed. Jericho then hits a codebreaker on Spears, and the Inner Circle fully take charge. This is the point where you said, Jack, Sammy hit the coast to coast, the Shane McMahon move, where they put it's usually Shane McMahon usually does it with a trash can. They did it with the chair. From one turnbuckle to the other. Jericho hits my jerk off.
Very impressive from Sammy, being able to reach that far across the ring. I thought that was class.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's more impressive from Shane McMahon, to be honest, to be able to do it. If you go back and watch more Shane, because this dude is just like a fucking a total suit, and yet he whips out this move. I'll have to go back and show you some of it. It's pretty mind blowing when you see it coming from him. I think Shane McMahon actually hit I might be imagining this. This might be a fucking fever dream, but I swear he went for like a shooting star press in his match with AJ Styles. No, that can't be right. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Slide in my DMs. What happened in that match? WANK podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Back to the match. Yeah. Jericho hits my jerk-off friend with the turnbuckle. Not my friend, thankfully. And my jerk-off friend then gets forked by Santana. Santana gets the fork out, stabs him in the head. Wardlow tries and is briefly successful to fight everybody off. This was a real face moment from Wardlow. You see the makings, don't you? You see the makings of a future feud with him and MJF when he turns on him, because this boy, he's got heart, the War Dog. I'm going to say Wardlow, I think, is the most underrated wrestler, and they don't give him enough time.
I'm exactly the same, but I think they will. I think just at the moment he works as a really good sort of bodyguard.
But he's old. He's a late starter. Like they need to, now is the time, I think. But again, like you said, they do have to wait until a natural opening, and they've only just formed this group, so they can't have him turn on it on the Pinnacle just yet. I do think he should be the first one to leave, though. We get more pile drivers on the boards from Santana and Ortiz. This was a point, to be honest, this was the downtime in the match, and this is when they were trying to stretch out, I think, during commercial breaks towards the end. There was like 3 commercial breaks during this match, so
I heard a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah, it disrupted the flow, and this point did get quite slow, to be honest. It was still the match of the night for me, but like, it was maybe an 8 out of 10, the match for me in the end, purely because of this kind of stuff, where it did lose it. That's a legitimate criticism, I think. But I mean, what can they do? Do you know what I mean? It's television.
TV. It's not pay-per-view. Yeah.
And to get a match like this on TV is special in itself. So you take the ref with this move. At this point, Tully goes after the referee, Bryce Remsburg, not being very nice to Bryce, beats him down, takes the key off him, and unlocks the cage. MJF, my jerk-off friend, climbs the cage, and Chris Jericho comes out and follows him after hitting Tully with the cage door. Jericho... They come back from the break here, and Jericho gets the walls of Jericho locked in atop the cage. And it looks like we're going to get a tap out from MJF until we get a cock shot from MJF, a low blow. One of my favourite calls of the night was they said he's going to tap, and then he did the low blow, and they're like, oh, and he certainly did, like, as a sack tap. At this point, MJF gets the Fujiwara armbar, the salt of the earth, in on Jericho. Jericho is Jericho going to tap? Of course he's bloody not. But MJF gets in. I think he lets up for a bit, and then he gets it in again, and then bites Jericho. Jericho's still not giving up. So at this point, he resorts to threatening to throw Chris Jericho off the cage. And I mean, I might as well talk about all this now. He threatens to throw Chris Jericho off the cage. The Inner Circle, they can't get up in time. They're like, don't do it. Sammy Guevara especially distressed and concerned for Chris Jericho, and says, we surrender, just don't throw him off the cage. And the Pinnacle win. Their music hits with a bloodied MJF looking victorious on the cage. I did miss the point where they had a very evil look from him when he goes to throw Chris Jericho off. And, the commentary team are, just the fact that he was thinking of doing it. And then, of course, he bloody does do it. So MJF, despite already having won, throws Chris Jericho off the cage. Chris Jericho goes through the entrance ramp. More on that in a second. And as people, the Inner Circle and the medical staff are attending to Jericho, MJF bends down on top of the cage and says, thank you, as he said he would, to close the show. Good stuff. Jack, run us back a little bit and talk about the match, and then tell us what you thought after the match.
Yeah, okay, match. So this was the point, obviously, Inner Circle looked like the more dominant force, and they did, I thought, over the whole match. And again, let me know if the facts don't tell the truth. Was it a 50-50 split, or would you agree the Inner Circle looked the more powerful?
Again, I mean, it was a tale of two halves, really. It was before the match the Pinnacle were, because obviously they had that man advantage, but then after Jericho came in, they were just, the Inner Circle were just laying waste to them for a little while, for quite a while. Like I said, it probably felt like a long portion of the match because they were dragging out the Inner Circle stuff, the Inner Circle being in charge over the commercial break, and they wanted to come back in with Jericho climbing the cage after MJF. So yeah,
I loved it though. I loved also, especially in the cage before they ended up going on the top, the look of just pure, like, it's just scared MJF. He's really good with his facial expressions because, all bloodied and stuff. Like, I just love how it's sort of obviously he's pleading, isn't he? But it's just like in the circle, they're like, "Nah, you fucked with us, man." Like, and they're obviously
You
punishing.
fucked up. You have fucked up now. You know
you have fucked up now. And of course, I knew as soon as Dax and Cash were unveiling the wooden bit of the stage, you knew immediately that they were the ones that were going to be on it.
Wrestling logic.
Yeah, the Sean Spears unbuckling the turnbuckle. I thought that was cool.
He was the one that got hit with that as well, I think, from Jericho. Yeah,
they're just setting up their own spots at this point, aren't they? They're like,
oh no, Jericho hit MJF with the turn, but still his own team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so. Very very cool. As I mentioned, that the Shane McMahon jump Sammy did, that was
coast to coast.
Yeah, really really cool. I was really impressed with that. I was impressed as always. Sammy Guevara has,
Sammy Guevara.
He has quality.
So nice to see him in. What did they say? It's been like a long time. It's been a long 70 days. This or something like that. It's in February anyway.
He's just got pure star power running through him. Like he deserves the TNT champ at some point. Like, because he's just incredible. And I feel like I feel sorry for Sammy because everyone knows he's so good, but he also is the one to take all the main bumps for the team.
Because he's so good at it. And I've actually got a point on that in a bit, so remember that about Sammy Guevara's ability to take bumps.
Alrighty. Yeah, and the only other thing I want to mention before is I know I seem to slag off Hager a bit, but I thought Hager looked cool here.
Dude, I've always rated Hager. I actually liked his run as world champion in WWE. He's just not got charisma. Do you know what I mean? He's got the QT Marshall disorder.
Yeah, he does. It's a shame because he has good wrestling ability. He just doesn't obviously have the promos kind of side of him, and as you say, charisma. He's not got that kind of. If you judged him based on his wrestling, he's cool. But that's why I like how he's kind of similar to Wardlow. I believe Wardlow's probably better, and he is better than on the mic. But they're like the bodyguard.
Yeah,
kind of
I've liked what I've seen in Wardlow on the mic. The brief moments.
But I just thought, you obviously didn't play by play. Speaks to main points. In ring, there's nothing too much I want to add. Other than I just thought it was cool. I would be terrified to be the two cameramen that were in the ring. I was thinking that. I was like, just being there, stuck in the corner, like, please don't hurt me. Imagine. But now, obviously, the main talking points up on the ring. I love this move. Obviously, them finishing it up there. I thought that was, it added to it. It also in a blood and guts that was with a crowd. I thought it was also, obviously it didn't have to, but it was in full view of the crowd then. They obviously wouldn't have to, obviously with the idea of blood and guts, obviously the cage surrounded, so obviously it is harder to see for the fans there. So I imagine most of them probably watched on the screen or trying to watch it on the in the ring as best they can, but with the cage blocking it. So it's nice, obviously ending it on the top so everyone can fully see the end and they don't have to look at the screens. Love how MJF managed to turn it around when he looked like he was all gone. The heel nut shot, and obviously the end. Now, I'll break it up into parts. So obviously the ending, as you mentioned, the Inner Circle surrendered. Now, again, I've seen a lot of criticism, but this is, like I said, just from Reddit, and everyone likes to have a moan. The surrendering, I've seen people moan. Now, come on, let's be realistic. Were they? If they ended it with him, with him being pushed off, and then obviously him surrendering once he's pushed off, whatever, that would just be stupid. Obviously because the Inner Circle never going to let their friend be pushed off. They want to save him, so that's why they surrendered. And then so that was I thought was really stupid criticism from people. Again, I think it's just people hating MJF because he's young and he's got this star power already. And then obviously. The main talk
you do have to, with AEW as well, you do have to take into consideration bad faith actors who, just hate watch the product and will shit on anything.
Exactly. But this is the main point. Obviously, we're going to discuss this. Feels like we always end up doing this with the big stipulation matches because it was the same with the barbed wire match at Revolution, where obviously it got hate. This one, I felt okay with the Revolution one. It was I think there's a bigger talking point than this because right. So MJF pushes Chris Jericho off. Obviously, this was from, I guess the commentary maybe is why people had criticism because they kept on
saying that obviously it was metal that he was going through. It was the metal stage, all this, and obviously he went through. But in previous AEW incidents, when they've had some pretty big spots, specifically a Matt Hardy one, where obviously he hurt himself under concrete, ended up, and everyone was moaning that the match continued, and it was unsafe from AEW. So everyone in that circumstance, and I remember it was it All Out, or it was All Out, I think. Everyone was moaning, saying AEW's unsafe. I can't believe they let this happen. So AEW then, right? We can't. Chris Jericho is an old man. Even a young man or whatever wouldn't be suitable. That is very high from where he is. MJF is MJF.
I don't know why that just made me laugh. The idea of you saying it. That is very high. That is a very high place he's coming from.
Because people are being stupid. All right. So yeah. So obviously
this has got your goat, hasn't it?
Honestly, because I don't. It just annoys me because I love AEW and we always slag it off on this podcast, which is obviously why we do a podcast to celebrate.
We're objective. We're good. We're good.
Exactly.
We're good hosts.
So he pushes Jericho off. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Tom. If that was a real spot and it was real metal, he is going to break his back or have serious more injuries. Everyone goes on about the star power Chris Jericho has. The fact, he is a main reason why people tune into AEW or at least made the move. If they put him out or end his career like this, do they what the? Of course,
I don't think the criticism is that he didn't go onto real metal. I think the criticism is the fact that it was so obviously cardboard and not they didn't paint it enough, or they didn't they didn't just make it look less like cardboard.
Okay, that's that's it is fair criticism, but then again, it's kind of like, but does that it with okay?
But no, I agree with you because I can't remember a time that I didn't see a huge spot in WWE like this, and I didn't see the crash mats and people about this shit. Like talk about Shane McMahon jumping off the Titantron. There was one where he was in a match with the Big Show. There's also one where he was in a match with Steve Blackman. I think.
What was the WrestleMania one that I remember watching?
Yeah, he went off the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
and you could. This is the thing in all of these instances, and through the announce table, you can see the crash mats. Do you know what I mean? You can see the crash mats inside the, in when they land, but you take it. Do you know what I mean? You take it as the fact that it's going to happen. I suppose this was not as far a fall as those, and that's probably why, I don't know, people probably just have this invisible line of how dangerous a spot has to look. Yeah, I mean, I can see the criticisms. I think people are making too much of it because I enjoyed it. I mean, I was watching it with someone. They were like, "Well, that's clearly cardboard," and I was like, "Shush, just immerse yourself."
Exactly.
And that's just the rules. Do you know what I mean? There's this unspoken rule, and we're talking about this unspoken rule of how much you suspend disbelief in wrestling. I think this was well within the boundaries of suspending disbelief. I think the explosions weren't. And I think that's why people booed, and rightly so, at Revolution. This. The people in the crowd at the actual place went wild for it, and that's because it's within the boundaries of suspending your disbelief. Like whereas sparklers as an explosion are not. You know what I mean?
That was a legit mistake on their behalf, and they obviously apologised and they played on it. This wasn't. But the funniest thing I saw on Reddit was next week at AEW, Kenny's going to come out and say that it was him that built the stage ramp.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah.
I thought that was funny. But other than that, obviously, that's my only criticism. I completely agree why people obviously aren't annoyed as much. It wasn't a metal, just the fact they could see it. But, that's just, it is what it is. At the end of the day, no one, I mean, we watch wrestling because we love wrestling, but no one's obviously, these things, they're not real, okay? Let's just...
predetermined, Jack, not fake.
But obviously,
it's still real to me, damn it.
That's right. My closing comment on that bit was, I just want to. No one should think it was metal. But other than that, the result. I mean, we predicted it. I think on the podcast last week.
Mm-hmm.
I was.
It had to be.
Because I think the Inner Circle can recover from, this more than if the Pinnacle lost. I think it'd be harder for them to recover. Where they need this push, because if they're a new faction. Their obviously claim is that they are
the pinnacle of AEW. They're the top ones, and
they just look like a joke if they didn't lose their first.
Exactly. This is their So and as we mentioned before, Jay Cargill's free, so that'll be then and add in the female member. I think that'd be cool.
She would suit them.
I'm intrigued to see where this goes now because I don't think this is the end of the feud. I've seen a lot of people obviously agree, and I think there's going to be further MJF, Chris Jericho, or MJF Sammy storylines down.
Well, this goes really well into what I was telling you before about Sammy Guevara and how he sells.
Yes, here we go. Your turn.
So you were talking about Reddit. This was actually, I have to give credit. I don't know their username, but this is something I saw on Reddit. People are talking about what would it have been better if Sammy was the one who went off
I saw this. Yeah. And what do you reckon?
I reckon they're right.
I reckon they're right.
And I for a few reasons. Can I say? Do you want to do it?
No. Go.
All right. Well, firstly, Sammy is younger and can take bumps better than Chris Jericho. So, point one, they may have been able to make it look more dangerous, and they may have been able to make it less safer while still safe if Sammy Guevara had taken it instead of Chris Jericho. Point two, they were talking about like Sammy Guevara's the young one with his career ahead of him and stuff like that, and it would have been this kind of more emotional note if Chris Jericho was the one that after Sammy betrayed him or seemed to, but then came back and then he volunteered to be first and stuff, and then he was because of Chris he was going to get hurt. It's more emotional that way. And three, and this is my own kind of point on it. If it had been Sammy Guevara and they wrote Sammy off for a while, again, it really fits with him not being in a match for a while, and this is the match where he comes back and he just gets it's got Greek tragedy written all over it. They could have the match with Chris Jericho and MJF, and this it would be this driving factor for Chris Jericho going into a match with MJF, but it would also set up a big feud with say MJF wins the feud with Chris Jericho, he beats Chris Jericho, and then after the match Sammy Guevara's music hits and the crowd goes fucking wild as this, you thought Sammy was out for longer, but he just comes back and he's like, he means business, and MJF's like, well, you shouldn't be back yet, and maybe they could have, left it to All Out, or so that would be a bit too long, to be honest. They'd probably have to, even though it deserved a longer wait, it would deserve Sammy to be out for longer. They just couldn't wait to All Out with him off television, so it'd have to be a Double or Nothing, but they could have had the match between Jericho and MJF at Double or Nothing and just have no word from Sammy. He's laid up and then he comes out after the match after MJF wins or something. That would be wild. I'd love that. And this is the thing, is you've got by pushing Jericho off, you've really only got one feud you can do. But I think if you'd pushed, because I don't think the fever pitch I don't think it's at enough of a fever pitch between, say, Guevara and MJF to the point where MJF pushing Jericho off kind of sends him and Guevara to that level of animosity. Do you know what I mean? But it would have, because him and Chris already hate each other. Do you know what I mean? They're already at 10, MJF and Chris Jericho. So after if Guevara had gone off, then they could have had that fueled match, the absolute blow-off match between MJF and Chris Jericho. But it would also have sent Guevara up to a 9 or 10 on the scale as well, from being the one pushed off. So when he comes back, you've got a ready-made hot feud straight away. Do you know what I mean? So I really think if Guevara had gone off, it would have been more bang for your buck, to borrow from the Bucks. They would have been able to stretch two hot programs for MJF out of that, whereas I don't think they have with this. They've just got the one still. Do you know what I mean? So
then the only way I can think, or
point four, less predictable. Sammy to go off, because everyone's expecting to always be Jericho and MJF pushing off Jericho. Jericho doesn't need to be pushed off the set. Like I said, they're already at 10. They don't need to push Jericho off to make Jericho hate him more. Do you know what I mean? They can, but they can stand to get Sammy and MJF's animosity up even more.
The only thing I can think then, obviously, because I agree with you, I think Sammy would have been better because like you said there, you got two feuds in one, or it is one overriding feud, but you've got two obviously individual ones there. The only thing I can think is if they've already got a plan for what they want to do with MJF post this feud, and they want to get a move on with it because maybe they want to put a title on them soon.
I just think sometimes at AEW they go for the choice that makes the most sense when you first look at it. Do you know what I mean? They make
Yeah.
the obvious choice. The obvious choice is to have MJF push Jericho off because MJF and Jericho are the leaders of their factions. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones with the rivalry. When you dig a little deeper and think about more nuanced storytelling, that's when it makes sense to push Sammy off. Do you know what I mean? But you have to go below the surface a bit and think about emotional layered storytelling, which I love them. I love this show. This was a easy 8 out of 10. This show, for maybe even a 9. This Dynamite for me. I love this Dynamite. Like I said, they even got a QT Marshall Cody. They got me top for that shit.
Yeah.
Second best match of the night. But God love them, AEW. Sometimes they do go for the obvious stuff, and I'd like to, I'd like a bit more nuance, and I think that would have been the case with Sammy. But yeah, no, great. It was a good match. Dragged a bit for me towards the end with the commercial stuff, but it is what it is. Yeah, I give this a solid 8 out of 10. This match, and this is good stuff. That just about brings us to the end of our AEW Dynamite review. Silly to even ask, but match of the night.
It's got to be blood and guts. I'm not even going to go for a jokey answer at this point.
Blood and guts. Yeah. What is your, taking over Patrick, heel moment of the week, Jack?
I'm going to go for... It's interesting because I think you could make it, obviously, MJF pushing Jericho would be a very obvious one. I think, fuck it, you know what, Patrick, you might hate me for this, but I'm going to go for Kenny dissing OC's OC in general, for the saying that obviously he's an easy person to mimic. That's what I'm going to go.
Let's hear it, Mesa Ruger.
God damn it.
Thank you very much. And it's time for my shocker of the week. It's just piling on too easy to say the cardboard issue. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not hating on it as much as other people are, or at all really. I'm not. I could have had them paint the cardboard. The bits that are brown on it, the brown bits of cardboard. They could have painted that silver. I guess I can see that, but it didn't bug me as much as it's bugging other people. What's my shocker of the week? I mean, it was a good Dynamite. So I'm trying to think back over if there were really any negatives for me. I think it's one of those weeks where I'm trying really hard to find a shocker. I'll tell you what's my shocker is Cody's persona right now. His
entrance still. There you go.
What is he? Is he face or heel? He's just this weird tweener. It's just the continued double standards for Cody with and like with Red Velvet holding QT Marshall and stuff. I tell you what, the shocker is making me root for QT Marshall. How fucking dare you?
Thing is, I can't believe Cody and Cody's still got the Snoop Dogg intro. Like, that's fucking just get rid. That's
what it sounds like to me, just Snoop Dogg mumbling. The sound levels don't help. AEW have a problem with their sound levels.
Thing is, I get having it when he's on the Big Show, but I've heard the Big Show ended months ago now.
The Big Show, thank you very much. Can't say Big Show.
Well,
it's Paul. No more BS. Right. So that leaves us with a couple more points of order. The first being, Jack, give us a rundown of next week's Dynamite.
Absolutely. So the AEW,
please.
All right. The AEW Dynamite.
All right, I'm doing it. Hold your horses. Go on.
Right, AEW Dynamite, the 12th of May show. The first show I shall be watching my new flat, so the Wi-Fi will be pitch perfect. Let's go. Yeah, let's just go in the announced order, right? So, for the Forbidden Door has been opened between AEW and NJPW. The IWGP US Heavyweight Championship match between Moxley versus Yuji Nagata will be happening. AEW Tag Team Championship match between SCU and the Young Bucks. A World Champion Eliminator match between Pac and Orange Cassidy. And the TNT Championship match between Darby Allin and Miro. Also, I did hear, which is not on this list, but Cody is making an announcement regarding Double or Nothing, I believe, which will probably be some eliminator match he's in for some sort of title, which he won't win and push someone else.
Jade Cargill, I want to say.
And yeah, I think Tony Schiavone speaks to Jade Cargill or something like that. But the main thing is obviously
What
their
a
matches.
card! That's a pay-per-view card.
I got so hyped when I saw
There's
that card.
2 title matches. It's fucking nuts.
And eliminator match for Double or Nothing.
What do they mean eliminator match? Though it's just a number one contender match.
Yeah, it is. But they just put here eliminator match. But yeah,
Weird.
number one contender match.
God, what a card! That is insane.
Very, very stacked.
There's not a lot of matches on there, but the matches that are there, I think it's the best card I've ever seen for Dynamite. Like for a non-special Dynamite.
It's very up there for sure.
There's 3 bloody title matches, Jack.
2.
No, US title, tag team titles, and
3 bloody yeah.
TNT title.
Sorry, yeah, 3. And obviously there'll be more stuff, won't there? That's just.
And a number one contenders is sort of like a title match. It's it's something on the line.
There's 4 matches there. Inevitably, obviously, we'll have probably some sort of weakish opener. But that will still be good and satisfactory. That will open it.
I mean, just give me Britt Baker just squashing another.
Yeah, I know, and then we'll have some sort of squash match too. But that is going to be stacked, and I'm sure we'll have some sort of fallout from Blood and Guts. So
you have to imagine.
Yeah.
Right. That leaves one more thing. Everyone's favourite segment.
Less important shows.
It's time for less important shows. There's one big one to talk about. Actually, before we get to that, before we talk about anything else, this is a big week for me watching wrestling. I had a lot of wrestling to watch this week, and I rated 2 matches this week as 10s, I think, which is big for me. There was a lot of big shows this week. Unfortunately, TJPW, Tokyo Joshi Pro, and DDT, they had big Korakuen Hall shows. They had to, because of COVID, they had to unfortunately wrestle without a crowd. It was announced like a week or so ago. But regardless, instead of telling you any spoilers, because I know Jack didn't watch it, well, you didn't. You didn't watch TJPW or DDT, did you? Don't look at me like that. So I'm not going to give any spoilers. I'm going to give people some recommendations of what to go watch, and you should just trust me. So the Yes Wonderland TJPW show, you could watch all of this. It was a fantastic show, start to finish, as TJPW shows, especially Korakuen Hall shows, usually are. But if you must cut down completely what you're watching, make sure you go watch Shoko Nakajima versus Mizuki versus Yuka Sakazaki for the number one contender match for the Princess title, and then go watch the Princess title match between Rika Tatsumi versus Miyu Yamashita, because obviously the winner of the first one and the winner of the second will be facing each other at the huge mega show, which I think might be a Tokyo Dome show. It's an arena show anyway, the Cyber Fight Festival, which is a big cross-promotional thing in Japan. Also, I would recommend watching all the last 4 matches of this pay-per-view. Over on DDT, the same day, DDT Max Bump, I would have to say absolutely stole the show was the Extreme title, and it was a double title match, champion versus champion for both the belts, Chris Brooks versus Saki Akai. So it was a double title match. It was also an intergender match, and absolutely smashed it. One of my favourite matches of the year, rated a 9, not a 10, but regardless, go watch it. And also worth checking out. Not as good, I don't think. I think Chris and Saki stole the show. But the DDT Universal title match, which we mentioned earlier in the show, the Universal title between Yuki Ueno of my favourite faction, the Sauna Club, as they're called 37 Kamina now, I think, because 37 sounds like sauna in Japanese, versus Soma Takao. Got through that. Right, go watch those. They are very good. But, I mean, before we talk about the big one, because there was an insane match from a very notable promotion just gone, Jack, you had some updates about Impact.
Yes, so I wanted to... so I'm going to pause it here because I need to pull out... Well, actually, I'll speak
You need to pull it out.
I need to pull it out, mate. First thing I wanted to mention was who is going to be appearing on Impact for the... I don't I don't want to say first time in case he's been on it before. But El Phantasmo, the Forbidden Door is open.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes,
It's forbidden doors everywhere. It's a forbidden roundabout with like 4 off sections. Do you know what I mean?
It's so cool in my opinion. Yeah, definitely really hyped about that. So looking forward to seeing him. And
ELP.
That's it. And so Under Siege, Impact Under Siege, which is on the 15th of May, which I believe is next Saturday. So for that, it's not really obviously a pay-per-view. It's one of they do Saturday shows every now and then, but they're not massive. But they've got Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus current Impact Tag Team Champs Finn Juice and Eddie Edwards. So that's going to be a cool match, I think.
That will be a cool match.
Yeah, and so they've also got another pay-per-view announced, which I can't seem to find the name of here, but it's going to be happening anyway. And to decide who is going to face Kenny for the challenge, they're doing a 6-man number 1 contenders match on next Saturday, which will be cool to check out as well, to see who will be getting their hands on Kenny Omega. It doesn't seem to say
that's going to be on a regular Impact, that match.
Oh, wait, let me... so it says, instead, Under Siege, we'll have a 6-man event to determine...
Oh, Under Siege, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to determine the number 1 contender to challenge Kenny Omega. So Chris Bay is the first man to win his way into the match, so he won a match.
I love Chris Bay. He's really good.
He's really cool. And yeah, so he's the first one to come in, which means there's 5 spots left. I'm imagining probably...
I think Chris Bay would be a good one, because I think they've got to save Moose. Moose should be the one to take it off him, to be honest. So I think Chris Bay would be a good one.
Yeah, but definitely that was hyped. And also wanted to mention, whilst I know we're in lesson shows, but it's after our Dynamite review, our mate Liam, who you've heard on the podcast, has told us, and I don't think you will have heard because...
Yeah, I know. He told you to DM him personally, didn't you?
No. This is different. This is different. That was about someone else. AEW are number 1 in the demos. This is AEW's first time as number 1 in the demo. The previous highest number was number 2 on the 10th of February 2019. Dynamite's debut. 12th of February 2020. Winter is coming. 12th of September 2020. 14th of April 2020. He listed a couple of that anyway. And 1.09 million viewers. And then Patrick said, actually, after DVR numbers, they had 1.81 million viewers last week. So, yeah.
1.8
million viewers last week after DVR.
Bro, I know, but they're getting some competing with, like,
number 1 in a demo numbers for the first time. I mean? So they are literally, people need to start taking them seriously. They still see them as like an NXT contender. They're not. I think I'd say SmackDown contender now. I think they've gone past NXT. Obviously, Fun and Guts helps being obviously a big pay. Like
it's really exciting to think about the like. Obviously, WWE do like 80,000 for WrestleMania. New Japan Pro Wrestling do like 65,000 for Wrestle Kingdom. Sky's the limit. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine, like, they keep selling out the arenas when they do like 15K and stuff. Like, can you imagine? I'd love. Obviously, WWE tried and failed to kind of make MSG them being the exclusive wrestling ones, because obviously they were trying to block New Japan and Ring of Honor, I believe, doing G1 Supercard there, which Patrick actually attended, as he likes to remind us. But yeah, I could imagine, because MSG is a legit arena for big shows. WrestleMania has been held there before, yet it's actually got a deceptively small capacity. It's like 25k or something.
I'll tell you which would be a prestigious
perfect,
one for I'll tell you, because obviously if the WWE are claiming MSG, why not Staples Center in LA?
But how what's the capacity for that? The reason I said MSG,
it's big.
But this is what I think. I think for the starting one, they shouldn't aim that. The reason I said MSG is because MSG has like a deceptively small capacity.
20,000.
Staples Center. Oh yeah, do it then.
That's what I mean, and it's a bit different, and it's in California, which is obviously where a lot of them are from. And yeah, it's only Staples Center is 20,000. MSG is 20,789. So it's only 789 seats bigger. MSG. So
they could do both of those easy, couldn't they? And then just gradually build to doing like even bigger stuff.
Imagine stadium though. That'd be cool.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Imagine Wembley.
Hello, Wembley.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Progress managed to draw like 15K at fucking Wembley Arena. Go just
As
do
soon as AEW
not Wembley
hit-
Arena, Wembley, Wembley Arena, and then Wembley Stadium is the big one.
AEW are doing O2 Arena when they come over. I guarantee it because they're
Got to do that.
They know they've got a big UK audience, so that
Oh yeah,
they'll do 2 shows. They'll do Manchester and they'll do London.
In my meet and greet with Mark Miro, he was like, "Oh, you guys love wrestling over there, the Brits." Like,
Yeah.
it's so true. Like, it's so true.
Yes, less important shows. Last bit, yes.
Last bit was we had a match of the year contender at Wrestling Dontaku Night 2.
Also,
First off, have to
I was about to say spoiler alert.
God, you're rude today.
If you've not watched Wrestling Dontaku Night 2, Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi, now is a suitable place to turn off this podcast because we will
Put
be
your
talking
fingers
about
in
it.
your ears.
Yeah, I mean, keep listening because it pulls up our views. But turn the volume down. Just don't listen. Just help us out and listen to the whole podcast. But turn off now because we will be talking exclusively about a match of the year contender. So you got to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, I have to say, after that build-up, I'm not going to start talking about the main event first. The junior heavyweight title match, Yo versus El Desperado, was not on the card due to COVID reasons. Somebody got COVID, or both, which was quite disappointing because they had a the night before Wrestling Dontaku Night 1, there was they had a junior heavyweight tag titles match where Sho and Yo defended in their rematch against El Desperado and I can even pronounce his name. The alcoholic one that he tags with, and it was meant to be, and Sho had a really good showing, should I say, and it was supposed to be Sho versus El Desperado, and that would have been an absolute banger of a match, but unfortunately it was removed from the card, so I think that actually helped the main event, because the main event could go extra long, maybe. But yeah, let's talk about the main event. Wowzers, that was something. You just watched it tonight, didn't you, Jack?
I did, yeah. So I was always going to watch it. I don't know what would have happened if we recorded earlier. I wouldn't have been able to talk about it, but fortunately I managed to get round to it. Just wow. I mean, we love us some Will Ospreay on this podcast. We played the national anthem when he won the title, and this was his first defence against Takagi, who they kept on mentioning on commentary.
So at least their third match together, yeah.
Yeah, and also the fact.
Oh, did you watch with English commentary?
Yeah.
I watched before it was up, so I got the Japanese commentary. So you've heard some.
Yeah, well,
hype
they basically just they're saying a lot that Takagi is world championship quality, like it how he hasn't had it on him, and he will have it one day.
He really is, man.
Yeah, he's just class. But the match itself, wow! Like I said, what I love about New Japan is they pull out these matches, and I do love the sports style they got over there, where it feels more real. It feels and the time they go for a long time, and it doesn't get boring. They know how to storytell over there, and obviously this is where hopefully everyone that's still listening now has seen it. Obviously, Will Ospreay retained in his first title defence. I think it was likely to happen, but nonetheless, this was a big showing for Will Ospreay for first title defence. It was not an easy ride at all. Some great spots. One of my personal favourites was the table one, where it looked like Will was going to be counted out, but he just managed to get in there, and obviously. Just insane.
Whipped out the cheeky Nando's kick. I thought he'd stop doing that. So
he did.
Do you know what I loved? Do you know one of my favourite things about it was that because you know who's next, right? For Will.
That's it. Another spoiler.
He pulled out the Rainmaker during the match, and it's like, he had to use his old mentor's move, who was on the horizon for him, to win the match. I was like, man.
May 25th, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay.
Well,
definitely check that out because that's going to be...
Oh, God, that's going to be insane.
Insane. That's, honestly, I'm
hard...
hard...
this one. I'd have thought of it. No, yeah. Oh, God. Great. Well, yeah. Fantastic match. I think we've... Just go watch it. Do you know, you haven't seen it and you've taken this risk and listened to the spoiler, but... Oh, man. Yeah, Will Ospreay gets a lot of hate. Do you know that?
Why?
And well, weebs. People. I honestly think it's partly because he's a gaijin, because he's a white dude. Honestly, when will we start caring about white men's problems? No, for real though. It's.
Tom's views are not expressive.
Obviously, I was being sarcastic there, but no, I do think there's these purists who are like, this is the thing. If you look back on his old cage match ratings from years ago, he's getting 10 or nearly 10, like 9.6 and shit, and it's like. And now they're lower, and it's like he's only gotten better. He's bulked up. He's gone up to heavyweight. He's added dimensions to his thing. And they're saying, oh, his matches are all the same. They're formulaic. He can't tell emotional stories. Bullshit, he can't. Look at this one with Takagi, like, face down on the floor and crawling up to him, and like I said, him pulling out the Rainmaker to its consistent storytelling. And honestly, I think partially it's because I know a lot of people, they're not liking... They haven't really liked the booking during the pandemic because of like Evil becoming champ and turning on LIJ, and they didn't like that. A lot of these people, and they and to be fair, Evil has had a shitter of it right now. Like he's in KOPW matches with Toru Yano, losing to Toru Yano, I might add, and he's on like 1-6, like, or something like that, or 1-7. He's on a big losing streak. He's having Dick Togo help him win every match. He feels very separate from the Bullet Club. But yeah, that aside, and I think the whole thing with the cutter on B. Priestley, it wasn't so much that it was like a depiction of spousal assault or whatever. It was, they think it was very WWE, I think, for them to do that, like Randy Orton, RKO and Stephanie McMahon and stuff, and it's like, this is a serious sports-based company. It's like, chill the fuck out, man. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, you still have the silly stuff. You still have Toriano taking off the ring pads and hitting people with him and stuff. Like, it's like, just shut up. Like, he isn't suddenly... they're the same people who used to ride Will Ospreay's dick and say he was amazing, and now it's like shitting on him. No, man, like, I honestly think if you can look at this match with Shingo Takagi and rate this like a 4 out of 10 or something, then you need your head looking at, like, you have given into your bias. You have gone over to the dark side. This was just a fucking masterclass. It was insane. It was incredible. Go check it out. You have to go check it out. Match of the year. Like I said, there was a couple of 10s for me over the last few days. This was one of them. And Rika Tatsumi versus Miyu Yamashita, the title match at Yes Wonderland, was another. I will say, right, I've got a question for you, Jack, at the end of our show. Which wrestlers would you rate as a perfect 10? Don't say Sean Spears. Which wrestlers in the world? Because I think there's two. There's 2 for me in AEW. There's maybe 3 or 4 for me in New Japan.
Kenny is a perfect 10.
Yeah, Kenny, he's one of mine.
Your other 10 in AEW is going to be Pac.
You know it. He's an absolute complete wrestler. He's just an all-rounder, Pac is. He can do everything. And
your 4 in New Japan is Will Ospreay, Shinsuke, Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah.
Kota Ibushi.
No.
Oh, okay.
Actually, hold on. Let me think how many I've got in New Japan. 1, 2. Yeah, I think about 4. Yeah.
Takagi.
Yeah.
And so that's that. And Naito.
Nah, ZSJ. ZSJ's a maybe for me. Kobushi is a solid 9, maybe even a 9.5. But if I'm being really strict with it, Ospreay, Okada, Takagi, and maybe ZSJ.
I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, for sure. I think you got him right there.
Fucking yeah, absolutely. And it's very rare. Like I said, there's probably less than 10 people in the world I'd rate a 10. Miyu Yamashita in Tokyo Joshi Pro. I haven't seen enough of Stardom to comment on that. I'm not sure there's anyone in DDT, as much as I love it, that I'd rate a 10. Although Yuki Ueno comes quite close, maybe an 8 or 9. WWE, probably just Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, although even Daniel Bryan's not there anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to see some more of Andrade. From what I've heard, he could probably top it, and we will be seeing more of him soon. So, yeah, that about brings us to our end of our show, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute joy, mate. We have run over 2 hours, but that's not an issue because it's quality content, and I think we've got an established audience now who don't give a shit if we go 10 minutes over 2 hours. And if you do,
we get
you're
a lot
listening
of full
to the wrong
listeners, don't we?
podcast.
Yeah. We've well established, speaking of establishing, we're like Lance Archer when he just kept saying time, established. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it, for a word like that. Anyway, we've established that I can't think of a sign off. I can't consistently sign off every week. I've got sign off dysfunction. I've got SD. I need a little blue. I need a blue chew for my sign offs. So we're gonna do it movie style. And we're gonna finish with some outtakes or an outtake because that's what they do in movies, don't they? During the credits, there's an outtake. So without further ado, feast your ears. You're such a prick.